Chapter 14, Part 2. I was better off than a lot of the guys next to me. We were all facing death, but I was facing it with love all around me. I tried to focus on that more than the fact that my life had been stolen from me. I didn't know who else was innocent. Maybe even other guys sitting in his rat cage was innocent. Who knew? Maybe every other guy in his rat cage had killed. It didn't matter. We were slowly roasting to death, and making it worse for ourselves was not a way to get payback. It only hurt us more. I was going to do what I could do with what I had. A little bit of kindness was amplified on death row because it was so unexpected. You can scream out in a crowd of voices, also scream it out, and no one hears you. But when you yell into the silence, your voice sounds louder. I was going to be that kind of voice screaming out on the road, and I was going to make it better for everyone, on even for the hill. We were all the same here. We were all garbage, discarded like garbage and deemed unworthy to have a life. I was going to prove them wrong. Charlie Jones looked every bit like you'd imagine a southern redneck worn to look like, straight down his cowboy boots, with spurs and a face that was white and fleshy and soft. He had a tough job keeping a handle on things at the most violent prison in the country. Every day he was responsible for his staff and an inmate population that would riot if given the chance. I knew this was going into my conversation with him.
I hear you are talking, Hanson, and I hear the guys listen to you. I still don't know why you didn't want to talk on camera when Geraldo was here. Geraldo Rivera spent the night on death row. Brian Cameron pretended to be one of us. We're whites and slept overnight in the cell, but it was all a joke, a pretended game where he was able to leave the next day. He didn't and couldn't know what it was to like to be locked in the cage when you were innocent. He was playing a game that he knew nothing about, and he only did it for his own ego. We saw the show. He didn't share. He had his shirt off, but you could see when he was handed a tray of food, they had another tray over it to keep out the dirt and the dust and the hair and the rest of the cockroach pieces. We didn't get our food served to us with the cover on it. That was a small difference, said it.
Said it all.
Well, I would have.
Come on.
Well, I would have if you had sent me to New York to film the show. Why I could have flown on the airplane for the first time and had some of those little peanuts I hear are so good. I was ready to be on the show if it meant I could have some of those peanuts. He laughed. Now what's this I hear about a club of some kind? I want to start a book club. I was thinking we could meet once a month in the library, but we need to be able to read something other than the Bible. Not everyone cares for the Bible like we do. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's a damn shame, he said. So my best friend Lester said he would mail a few books here and we could read them and then ourselves a discussion.
The warden looked down and I could see he was considering my proposal. Look, I said. These guys need something to focus on besides what the guards are doing and not doing for them. Besides the heat, besides the fact that our food tastes like dirt, it's a way to keep the peace. A book club will help things stay more peaceful, he nodded. You can't have guys spending 23 hours a day thinking about death. It makes them crazy. And when people go crazy, who knows what they'll do. It may have been a bit much, but it was the truth. I wanted him to believe that if we had books on the road, it would keep the inmates quiet. But really, I knew that it would set them free. If the guys had books, they could travel back in the slave days with the plantation owners didn't want their slaves to learn to read. When Charlie Jones probably had family who my family, I wasn't going to bring that up. I wasn't even going to show him anything but how a book club would keep the peace.
You said peace?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me think on it, Henson. You make a good point, but let me talk to my officers. They are the ones who are there. I don't want any trouble. I'm from death row. You understand what I'm saying? I let you have some extra time after you off. That's been all right. But if you have any time any trouble from the road, we'll just keep you guys in for a full 24 hours. Take away the visits. If anything gets in the problem, I had a lot of guys in there who will need to be managed. Yes, sir, I said. I appreciate you taking the time to consider it. I do think it will help your men have an easier time doing their job, sir. Thank you for considering my proposal.
I think the manners puzzled Charlie Jones. He wasn't used to it. I watched him cock his head at me more than once, like he couldn't quite figure out if I was joking or serious. They listen to you, Hinton. You keep things peaceful on the road, and I'll see what I can do. I can't have a bunch of you in the library at once. I don't have the staff for that. 4 guys, maybe 6. I'll think about it. Thank you. And we don't have a budget to be buying books. You'd have to have them mailed to us. We expect them first. No more than 2 books at a time. I can't see what it would hurt to let some other books on the road. That's a good idea, sir. Anything else, Hinton? I think we understood each other here. Anything else going on I need to know about? And here it was, just like that. He wanted me to be an informer, but I wasn't playing that game. Well, about Gerardo, sir. Some of the guys noticed he got a tray turned upside down on top of his food tray to keep the dirt out. You know, as a lid on his food, and some of the guys thought this was a great idea. Was that your idea when Gerardo was here? I paused then, and he nodded and smiled. It was a great idea. I think it would go a long way if we could use that great idea for all of us. Get lids on our food to keep the dust out. You know, you know how dusty it is in here. All right then, I don't see why not. I'll let the kitchen know. Thank you, sir. I smiled all the way back to my son, and when the captain of the guard let me know we left the public approved for 6 guys, I told Lester I'm busy today. Can you send in a couple of books to the prison? Send them to the attention of the warden. What you up to now? Asked Lester. I'm starting a book club. A what? You know, a book club where we're going to read books and then meet once a month as a club just to talk about it. Lester's new wife Sylvia had come with him to visit. Her nickname was Sia. What you laughing at, Sia? I asked. You never heard of a book club before? I've heard of it, but I think it's funny if you guys are going to sit around having a book club. What books are you going to read? I'm not sure. What do you think? Lester kind of shrugged. He wasn't a big reader, but Sia looked serious all of a sudden. I know, she said. You guys needed to read James Baldwin, Harper Lee, Maya Angelou. I just read I Know Why They Cage Birds Sing. You guys need to read that one and To Kill a Mockingbird. That's such a and go tell it on the mountain. Sia was getting excited about the idea. Okay, I said, you send us the book, I'll pay you guys back when I get out of here. I promise. Just send me 2 books. Care of Charlie Jones. We'll have to read and pass them around to share. You send them in whatever order you think we should read them first. Maybe we could talk about them when you visit. You could help me out, think about it, talk in the book club. How about that? See you now. Let's start with James Baldwin. James Baldwin it is. He's going to take these guys right out of death row. What do you mean? Lester looked at me puzzled. Not everyone has my imagination all day, every day. Guys are drowning in fear and death. Imagine knowing the day you're going to die. How could you think about anything else? These guys have to find a way to think about life.
At that moment, there was yelling across the yard. Guards rushed over to another visiting table. I saw Henry jump up and then get pulled by a guard. Sirens went off, and that meant we had to lie face down on the ground. Don't worry, it's okay, I said to Lester and Sia, who looked scared. I'm glad my mom hadn't felt well enough to make the drive. That would have scared her. I turned my head and looked over to Henry. He had been having a visit too, and but I could see his dad on the ground and the guards were around him. I wondered what had happened. I met Henry's eyes and I could tell he was scared. Visits over. All inmates returned to cells. I could hear ambulance sirens in the distance. I wondered if someone had stabbed Henry's father. I turned back to wave goodbye to Lester and Sia, but they were being taken out and didn't see me. Henry lined up behind me for count. What happened? My dad was going over about his trials that was coming up, and then he just fell over. I think it's his heart. He turned completely white, almost blue. I could hear Henry's voice shake. His father was an asshole, a racist, murdering asshole, but he was still his dad. I'm sorry, man. I really am. I'm glad he's okay. You know they declared a mistrial because of his heart before? Yeah, I said. The trial of Bernie Hayes had been in the papers, and everyone knew about it, even though Henry never talked about it. I'm sorry, Henry. I really am. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for everything. Henry hung his head and didn't talk anymore. The next day, Saturday, his father died. The guard came to give Henry the news. I said a prayer for Benny Hayes. I prayed that in death, he would know more than he did in life. Someone had taught Benny Hayes to hate, and Benny Hayes had taught his son Henry to hate. And now Henry was learning that hate didn't get him anywhere. In Alabama, when someone dies, you bring food to the family. All day long, friends and neighbors show up bringing casseroles, pies, or homemade grits. It's the way you show love and support. By the end of the first day of grieving, the family's fridge and table and counters are covered with food. Food is love and life and comfort, and one small way to show others you are there, willing to nourish and nurture them in their grief.
As soon as the guards left, Henry said, I passed some coffee out of my cell to Henry. The guys next to me reached out and took it from me and passed it down to the guys next to him. Up and down the road all day long. Who might just as soon kill each other as look at each other from the streets, past their precious food items to Henry said. Candy bars, soup, coffee, and small pieces of chocolate, and even fruit. People who had something of value offered from commissary or left over from meals passed it on to one another until it reached Henry. No one took it for himself. Nobody interrupted the chain of comfort as it wounded its way up and down the road until it reached Henry. We all knew grief. We all knew sorrow. We all knew what it was like to be alone. And we all were beginning to learn that you can make a family out of anyone, even the guards, perhaps caught up in their own humanity or because Henry's dad had collapsed under their watch, helped pass food to Henry. In a twisted way, they were all a part of this big, strange family in death row. They were the ones charged with our care every day, obligated to help us when we were sick, yet also the ones who walked us to our deaths, strapped us to chairs, and then turned their backs as the warden flipped the switch to end our lives. In the end, we are all just trying to find our way.